Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta and you're watching Basis Points, where we dive deep into the numbers and the stories that drive our economy and shape our world. The headlines. The Bicameral Conference Committee approves the final version of the proposed 2025 national budget. Will there be changes to the controversial budget of the Office of the Vice President? The Agriculture Department wants to bring back the regulatory powers of the National Food Authority. Will their regulatory powers be reinstated? And New York authorities find evidence linking suspect Luigi Mangione to the shooting of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. What's next? First, let's take a look at the financial markets on Wall Street. The S&P 500 fell nearly 1%. The Nasdaq Composite gained almost 2%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average shed nearly 0.25%.
Still general risk on. What's been the big thing in the last couple of weeks has been, investors looking at the data and the so-called soft landing or no landing for that matter. So there was concerns all year about a recession that, didn't materialize. And the numbers that have come out are still kind of in the Goldilocks zone. And so it's risk on for assets. Now, investors are taking a close eye on valuations. And particularly if you look at things like the Nasdaq, you're starting to get to definitely frothy ranges. But right now, it's definitely still risk on, for at least the time being.
In Europe, markets also closed higher on Wednesday. London's FTSE 100 gained about 0.25%. Germany's DAX gained 0.3%, while France's CAC 40 increased by more than 0.25%. Here in the Asia-Pacific region, markets opened mixed. Japan's Nikkei 225 up sharply by 1.44%. South Korea's Kospi is also up by nearly 0.9%. And Australia's S&P ASX 200 is flat in mid-trade. In other news, the Bicameral Conference Committee approves the final version of the 2025 General Appropriations Bill in the national budget, but the controversial budget for the Office of the Vice President remains the same. Agatha Gregorio has the details.
Senators and congressmen approved the Bicameral Conference Committee report on the 2025 national budget at over 6.3 trillion pesos. But not all lawmakers affixed their signatures.
Pending further study by my budget team and also my consultation with my minority leader about what his vote will be in the ratification process this afternoon. For the record, hindi ko muna po pipirmahan yung budget Bicam report. But as soon as I know what my or our votes will be, I will inform the good Finance Committee Chair and Senate President with all.
Hindi ko pa nakita, titingnan ko pa lahat. Hintayin ko yung buong kopya.
Senator Bato de la Rosa also stayed out of the group photo at the second Bicam Conference Committee meeting on Wednesday. De la Rosa is among senators who called for an increase in the budget of the Office of the Vice President after it was slashed at the House of Representatives from over 2 billion pesos.
Senate Finance Committee Chairperson Grace Poe says the 733 million peso budget of the OVP stays, as this is the decision of the majority. Poe adds the office can still help the public as it has 600 million pesos in its funding for social services.
Some funding was also restored for the Ayuda sa Kapos ang Kita program, or AKAP. In the Senate version of the budget, funding for this was reallocated to other programs. This was due to AKAP's supposed similarity to another Social Welfare and Development Department program, Assistance to Individuals in Crisis Situation, or AICS.
Nagkaroon ng pag-uusap tungkol dyan. Alam naman natin na yung AKAP ay inisyatibo ng House of Representatives. So, pagdating sa mga ganon, inexplika nila kung bakit ito ay isang paraan na mas makakatulong sa ating mga kababayan. Ito naman ay ating pinakinggan at pinagbigyan rin. Ito ay para pangtulong dun sa mga nangangailangan na minimum wage earners na apektado ng mga sitwasyon o kaya ng inflation ngayon.
Poe adds they simply reduced the budget to 26 billion from the initially proposed 39 billion pesos at the lower chamber. But unlike AKAP, the budget for PhilHealth subsidy suffered far more than a cut.
Sa ngayon, ang PhilHealth ay hindi nabigyan ng budget sapagkat kailangan nilang gamitin muna yung kanilang reserve funds na kung nakikita ninyo, marami nang nagagalit dahil hindi nabibigyan ng tamang reimbursement, hindi mabilis ang pagka-reimburse. Kung nakikita naman natin na ganun karami yung pera nila, kailangan gamitin nila yon dahil nasasayang lang.
The senator says PhilHealth still has 600 billion pesos in reserved funds. Senator J.V. Ejercito believes this can still be used for PhilHealth operations, but he does have concerns over the legality of the decision.
Both universal healthcare and syntaxes talaga naka-earmark yun for PhilHealth's use para nga sa indirect contributories dun sa mga PWD, senior citizen, yung subsidy natin sa yung mga hindi kaya magbayad.
Senator Poe expects the president will sign the 2025 budget by December 19. Agatha Gregorio, BNC.
The Asian Development Bank approves a $500 million loan to support the Philippines' public financial management reforms. This aims to improve transparency, efficiency, and the delivery of essential public services. The loan focuses on enhancing national budget frameworks and empowering local governments, among others. It also strengthens the role of the private sector in public service delivery, alongside improving climate resilience and preparedness for Filipinos. For the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARMM, the program supports peace-building efforts by enhancing fiscal autonomy and by strengthening the region's revenue systems. On another front, billionario Manny Pangalinan's SP New Energy Corporation seeks to borrow more than 180 billion pesos from local banks to fund its massive solar energy projects. SPNEC will use its shares in its subsidiaries, Terra Solar Philippines Incorporated and Terra Nueva Inc. as collateral for those loans. TSPI is borrowing 160.1 billion to build a 3,500 megawatt peak solar power plant and battery energy storage system in Nueva Ecija. TNI will borrow 20 billion to fund land acquisition costs and reply bridge loans. SPNEC plans to hold a special stockholders meeting on January 25 to seek approval for this borrowing arrangement. We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line.
The latest news, national issues, the political scene, and conversations with prominent personalities. All these firsthand at the forefront.
Is still continuing with hearings on the EJ.
But we can recommend the filing of cases with the proper offices or agencies.
It is always victimizing the poor, so we will continue to go against corruption in the budget.
At the forefront with attorney Karen Jimeno, 8 a.m.
Two reasons why. I think the first one is I come from a rice farming background in Ilocos Norte. I have relatives that does rice farming and really saw the complexities that they saw every single day. And second is really my immersion in Singapore. Earlier this year, I went to Singapore and I interned for a startup that helped shrimp farmers manage the risks of disease testing in Vietnam. So having to understand that risks is the biggest, most vulnerable factors that affect farming, I tried to apply that in the Philippines and AgriConnect came to be.
Welcome back to Basis Points Trading at the Philippine Stock Exchange. Opened just a few minutes ago. Let's take a look at the initial figures. As of 9:43 this morning, the main gauge is extending its losses down by 0.6% to 66.06. Now, the benchmark PSE index closed in negative territory yesterday as investors digested lackluster economic data, such as widening of October balance of trade by about 40% year on year, a decline in September foreign direct investment net inflows from $577 million to to $368 million, rather. That's year on year. And also the World Bank downgraded its economic growth target for the Philippines ever so slightly from 6% to 5.9%. In any case, all of this is weighing on investor sentiment. The PSE index fell by 1.22% yesterday to 66.43, falling below the 6,700 support level. Right now, we are still below it. We've even extended those losses down by 0.6% to 66.06. The broader all shares index is in the red as well, down by 0.3%. Of all the sub-indices, we're looking at a mixed picture here. The financial sector is down by 0.7%. Industrial counter also down. Services counter and property counters are down. Just bucking the market's uptrend slightly are the holding firms and the mining and oil counters. And again, yesterday's losses came on the back of selling in Wilcon, ICTSI, Alliance Global, and Ayala Land. Now, at the foreign exchange market, the peso opened at 58.40 against the dollar compared to its previous close of 58.28. Now, shopping malls will be allowed to hold mall-wide sales, but only during weekends to lessen the traffic in major thoroughfares during the Christmas season. The MMDA is coordinating with mall operators regarding this matter. The agency clarifies that individual stores inside malls can still offer their own sales promotions.
We don't want the traffic congestion or yung mga volume ng vehicle at tao nasasabay sa rush hour on weekdays. We have to take note. On weekdays, a lot of people are going to the offices. Gaano karami yung mga tao na iba't ibang oras ang labasan ng office. Some get off work at 6 p.m. I don't think the banning of the sale on weekdays will affect greatly because, as I said, outlets inside the mall can do their own sale. So even on weekdays, you go to the mall, kung meron kayong establishment na pupuntahan, definitely there'll be sale.
The Land Transportation Office will deploy their own personnel to help the MMDA manage the worsening traffic. For more on this specific topic, our guest today is the president of the Philippine Retailers Association, Roberto Claudio. He's here to shed light on how the MMDA's traffic measures are impacting the retail sector and what can we do to strike a balance between easing traffic and supporting holiday shopping. Mr. Claudio, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Maiki.
Glad
to be here.
Yeah, lots of things going on in your sector. Just 2 days ago, the president signed the VAT refund for tourists, VAT on digital services, and then there's this MMDA's push to ease holiday traffic. All very important topics. Let's talk about the MMDA issue first and then touch on the other topics afterwards. So taking a look at the numbers, there are 421,000 vehicles that traverse EDSA daily. It's a very high traffic corridor. 131 malls in Metro Manila, 29 of which are on EDSA. 2 weeks until Christmas, and a lot of people are out to shop. So this means Carmageddon. This is also the peak season of the retail sector. Just how important are these last couple of weeks for you guys?
Very important, Mikey. Especially that's our concern now. This is Christmas. I mean, in the Philippine tradition, everybody goes out and shop and buy something for their families and their friends. So traffic is bound to happen. No choice. So for us, we feel that this is not a battle between what's right and what's wrong between MMDA and the mall owners. What we're saying is we need to do some cooperation work to make sure that the traffic problem is addressed and not have any economic repercussions. So the effect, I guess, if you ban that mall-wide sales is, I guess, you deprive the customers, the consumers, of an opportunity to be able to shop at lower prices, at sale prices, promo. And you deprive also the retailers of the possible revenue that they will earn on December. As you know, that the December sales for most retailers, even the small ones, is equivalent to 3 months' sales. So if they lose this opportunity, they may end up in the negative at the end of the year. And secondly, also the VAT collections of the government will go down.
Yeah, absolutely. There are economic repercussions to this as well, because less sales equal less VAT, and that's less revenue for the government. Now, we're talking about the problem of this congestion. It's everywhere, but it's really specific to EDSA because it's such a high traffic corridor.
There are more than 20 malls.
29 malls
along
from
the stretch
MOA to Balintawak. Okay, the MMDA clarifies that they're not banning mall-wide sales altogether. They want to manage traffic better by coordinating schedules. What do you think of their approach?
We want to cooperate in that one. And in fact, we do have a suggestion already to schedule this mall-wide sales and limit it to maybe about 3 or 4 at a time. For every 3 days, they change 3. And spread out the malls that will be allowed to go on mall-wide sales. So they do not converge in one particular area, but rather stretch towards the whole length of EDSA. But voluntarily, the mall owners have already done our own shares of alleviating traffic. We have extended the mall hours. Some malls are already opening at 9 o'clock in the morning and even closing up to 12 midnight. The idea here is allow the consumers to be able to shop the whole day. So they don't have to converge during lunchtime or after office hours. They can even go shopping at 11 o'clock in the evening.
Correct.
So by spreading it out, you also spread out and thin out the traffic so hindi sabay-sabay.
In other malls, like in Dubai, the malls there are open 24 hours. But they have the demand to sustain that. Here in the Philippines, is that something that we can consider, extending the mall hours beyond midnight? Is that especially during this holiday push, to give customers a wider range to shop within a window?
For the Christmas season, it's an option that some malls are even taking it. They decide on their own depending on the demand for a particular mall. But the Dubai situation is a very high tourist market. So foreign tourists are coming in, so they can afford to open all the way up to 4 o'clock in the morning. It's more the cost of the doing business that you have to contend with.
Yeah, that's right. And then going back to the MMDA, there's what they want to do, and then there's what they can do. Without the proper legislation, what are their limitations?
I guess they can just address this as a traffic issue. In terms of limiting promotions and sale activities, this is a purview of DTI. That's why, when companies go on promotions, we have to get the permit from DTI, as per DTI, so number so. So they give us a permit to go on sale. So the purview of controlling or limiting sale and promotions is in the purview of DTI and not the MMDA. But we're willing to cooperate with the MMDA to address the traffic issue.
Yeah. How practical are the requests of the MMDA?
It's not practical simply on those two things. It's depriving the consumers. It's Christmas season. This is the only time of the year that all of us go out and shop. It's practically saying, let's cancel Christmas and stay at home na lang kayo para walang traffic. Cannot be. This is Christmas season. Second, the retailers are relying on this month to be able to recover and be able to come out positive for the end of the year. Second, when the sales go down, the government revenue goes down in terms of VAT remittances. So there are quite a lot of economic repercussions in such a decision.
It's a very important sector. The MMDA can ask and suggest, but what if the malls don't want to cooperate?
That's why we say we want to cooperate with the MMDA, because I don't know how much police powers or penal provisions are in their ordinances that they are imposing.
What's a win-win situation here? How can we balance traffic management and keep robust sales for the retail sector?
I guess it's basically managing the traffic situation so people are allowed. The spreading of mall hours we already have also advised all the malls to increase their traffic enforcers in their entrances and exits to the mall, so that there are no congestions in the malls that are going on. Second, spread out the number of malls that can be allowed. They don't have to go all 29 malls along EDSA having a mall-wide sale. You can do it 3 or 4 at a time over a number of days. But again, this may be a little too late because we're already in the peak of Christmas shopping. We have only this weekend coming in, and to ban any mall void sales we will get the ire of the consumers already and say, don't deprive us of our chance to shop.
It's a little too late and a little too surprising to issue all of these demands or requests at the nth hour. But perhaps, we can take things into stock and prepare better for Christmas of 2025.
Oh, yes. And in fact, we've done this 2 or 3 years ago where there was coordination between MMDA and the Retailers Association and the mall owners. We plan out as early as October, November to make sure that there is a decent plan to be able to spread out the mall sales and at the same time avoid or minimize traffic problems.
On another front, just 2 days ago, the president signed the VAT refund for tourists. This is going to be very beneficial for the country because it makes us so much more competitive. For 35 years, we never had this as a boost to our tourism program. Can you talk about this latest development, Mr. Claudio?
Correct, Maiki. And we were the only Asian country that never had it. Kaya tourism numbers in Thailand, Vietnam are double-digit. Tayo nasa single-digit. We're only in the maybe 6 to 7 million this year. And one of the problems was we never gave this VAT refund for tourists, which was an attraction. The second biggest item or expense item for tourists is shopping. After their hotel and airfare, shopping. So sayang, we were never able to get the tourists to come and shop. So this VAT refund will help boost our tourism industry by increasing the numbers of tourists coming over to the Philippines and also boosting the retailers' revenue to be able to tap the tourism market. And it's growing, especially from Korea, China, and even India now.
Yeah, and another thing the president signed, he also signed VAT on digital services. Now, this is great because it levels the playing field for brick and mortar companies. And people would buy online previously. They'd buy from countries like China, and it would come in, and there would be no customs duties and no value-added tax. Can you talk to us about the development, this change? How it's going to reshape the retail sector?
The bill was signed a month ago, and they are now in the process of drafting the implementing rules and regulations in the IRR. And we're quite disappointed with the initial draft of the IRR because it eliminates digital VAT on digital services for physical goods. And that was the essence of the law, to level the playing field so that everybody who deals with the Philippine market pays the proper VAT and duties, including intellectual property. But this IRR removes physical goods and deals only with intangibles, meaning mga streaming lang. And the bulk of the revenue lost by the government on e-commerce is coming from the physical goods. Can I give some very important information? Google Philippines and Bain & Company just finished their research on the e-commerce volume in Asia. And Philippines' volume for 2023 was $31 billion, or about 1.3 trillion pesos of e-commerce transaction, both physical goods and digital goods. But 90% of this is coming from physical goods. Now, my challenge is, how much did the government collect out of that 1.3 trillion e-commerce? Remember, when you order e-commerce through the marketplace, they come in a plastic and nothing but a sticker. No receipts, no nothing after that.
Well, they've got 90 days to come up with a new IRR, and hopefully they come up with something that you guys will be satisfied with. Now, before I let you go, I want to ask you just a couple more questions. A lot of changes in the landscape of the retail sector. There's the VAT refund for tourists that we just talked about, as well as the VAT on digital services. What is your outlook for this industry in 2025, Mr. Claudio?
We're very positive on this. We're going with the economic plans of the government. Remember, so many infrastructures will be finishing within the next 2 to 3 years. New malls are coming up. Do you know that there will be 20 malls that will be coming up within the next 3 years? So we're positive. Population is growing. Income per capita is growing. OCW remittances are growing. So we feel confident that the retail industry in the Philippine economy will be bullish in the next 3 to 5 years.
Given that trajectory, do you think that there should be a cap on the number of malls on EDSA? Given that we already have 29 malls on EDSA, you think there should be a cap on,
yes,
on the,
I think there should be, but that should not be a main concern because I believe there are no more big properties along EDSA that can be developed into malls. So the trust now of most mall owners are going provincial. People are shopping closer to home. That's the theory now. So that's why mall developers are shifting their mall directions and construction towards the provincial areas.
And one more. If you could give one gift to the retail industry this Christmas, what would that be?
Well, if this VAT on digital services is going to be in the implementation of IRR to include physical goods, because that was the intent of the law, level the playing field and earn revenue for the government. And I think if they include the physical goods as part of the digital services being rendered, this will be a boom to the Philippine retailers and also the government. Government is expected to earn 100 billion pesos out of this, which will be deprived if the VAT on digital services is not imposed on the physical products. So that's the best gift that the retailers and the government will get this Christmas if we get that.
Right, well, it is a very important sector. Thank you very much, Mr. Claudio, for sharing your thoughts on this industry and more.
Thank you, Maiki, and thank you for always help us give our voice in the retail industry.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, and that's it for Basis Points. I'm Maiki Oreta. We'll be back tomorrow for more news on the financial markets and more. Keep it here on BNC, the Billionario News Channel, always on top.